Let's continue making sense of how the situation is unfolding throughout parts of the country. In Gauteng, there's a huge interest to see in which way this incredibly important province will swing. It's home to the most number of registered voters. We've seen a number of voter districts being counted so far, in fact, more than 50% of them. And the ANC only been able to clinch about a third of that tally. Hasina Gori is part of our team at the Alberton Results Operations Center in Midrand. And Hasina, I wonder how political parties are responding to what's taking place there, because where I'm sitting, the temperature is certainly heating up.
Good morning, Ayanda. While the temperatures are rising by you, we're still seeing quite a quiet morning here in the Gauteng Provincial Center in Alberton, sitting at the Gori chambers. Many of the party leaders slowly trickling in. Earlier on the show, we spoke with DA's premier candidate for the province, Mzansi. We also spoke with the IEC, just talking on the glitches that we've seen. We're still seeing a bit of a delay while they're saying that they've counted over 50%. The results still reflecting only just 46%, so we haven't got a good picture of what is really happening here this morning. As we've mentioned earlier, the ANC at 33%. The last time we were able to get results, the DA close behind at 29%, but also after that it was the EFF as well, just below that, but also other parties such as the MK, Mzansi, Freedom Front Plus, all making marks here in the top 10. I want to bring in some of the party leaders that are here at the moment. I'm with Mzansi, a new kid on the block, a party that just recently began with ideologies that were not just political. Let's start, Michael, with how are you feeling just seeing the results coming in here, specifically in Gauteng?
Good morning. Firstly, we would like to just say we are incredibly grateful to every single person that has voted for Mzansi. Every vote that we have represents growth. We are a brand new party. As we speak, we've never had a city councillor, we've never had a member of parliament or a member of a legislature anywhere. We are immensely grateful for that. What we are truly happy about, two things. We are currently within the top 10 in the Gauteng provincial results, but looking at the national results, we are higher or larger than parties that are currently in parliament. Parties like, for example, Good, they have a whole cabinet minister. Parties like Al Jamar, they have a mayor of Johannesburg. The PAC has a member of the mayoral committee up in Tshwane. So we are motivated and encouraged. We know that this election isn't about us, but what we wanted to do through this election was really to tell the people of South Africa about Mzansi, what it is that we stand for, which is really that we do need new leaders. We want to offer something different. I think many people feel that the dominant parties in the country have let them down in many different ways, and we go into communities and listen to them directly and use that to inform our policies. And we believe in a direct system of government, meaning that ideally if Mzansi were in charge of the country, you would vote for a member of parliament from your own community. We still have a system where most people would never know who the member of parliament is from their own area. But really, we are immensely grateful to every person that has voted for us. And from here, we can move into 2026 and into 2029.
Do you think that the voters here in Gauteng as well as nationally were able to understand, or do they buy in to Mzansi's idea of new leaders that are needed, something different to the normal processes and politicians that we've seen in South Africa?
I think certainly yes. I think everyone has to understand RISE was only formed last year. We only formally registered with the IEC, in fact, towards the end of last year as well. And we've gone into communities across the whole country in that time with the resources that we have had. We know a lot has been made of RISE's resources and funding, but actually parties that are in parliament, they get money from a thing called the Multi-Party Democracy Fund. And they have a lot more resources than parties that have just started out, such as Mzansi. But nevertheless, we were able to go into every province in our country, into every type of community, rural, urban, and really hear from people what it is that they want. And I think that people really bought into the way that we try to connect on a very personal level with people across the country, and we can only grow from this point in time.
One of the Rise Mzansi's ideologies was around rejecting many of the big parties, so the ANC, the DA, as well as the EFF's policies. Should you be asked to join into coalitions, which parties would you be open to? We know there have been statements made in the past around which parties you would not be going to coalitions, but right now, has there been any thought behind that?
Ultimately, we would take the mandate from the people that put us into, we'll call it power, even though we won't be governing from an outright sense. But ultimately, the mandate is from the people that elected us. Our national leader is on record, though, as saying we don't want to work with the ANC. We do need new leaders. As Rise, we have a number of founding principles like integrity, justice. We want to bring dignity to the people of the country. We believe in things like tax rebates for single mothers. We ran a national campaign against sex for jobs. So we do support the cause of women really suffering in our country immensely. That's something that we can't get away from. But we can never support corruption. We're for 100% transparency and accountability. So we could only align with parties that have similar values as we do.
Thank you so much. That was Michael Shackleton speaking to us here from Rise Mzansi, speaking on their reactions to the results that we've seen so far, being in the top 10 here in Gauteng. As the numbers continue to come in, some of the other parties that are still also on the top 5, I think at this point, Freedom Front Plus here speaking to us. Amanda, thank you so much. How are you feeling? What's your reaction to the results so far here in Gauteng?
It's coming in slowly, but if we look at the indicators already, I think there's over 50% that was counted for regional, provincial and national. We are still optimistic. I think the biggest numbers will come in now. That makes a difference for us, and that is when we look at all the metros, which is more demographically where our voters lie. So we will see the differences as they come in from year on. Already at this stage, we're very optimistic.
Are there any results that have surprised you so far in Gauteng? Any demographics you didn't expect to find yourself getting some votes or more votes than usual?
I think that some of the outlying areas, obviously, as I say, we have not finished all the counting. We're just looking at Lesedi at this stage, which seems to be one of the first voting areas that has been finalized. So we're just analyzing the data there now. But I think there are some of the outlying areas where usually we do not find voters, and the numbers have definitely increased.
What would you account for the shift in voter trends towards your party?
There's definitely a shift in the trends, and I think for the reason is that voters want stability. They want stability, they want growth, and they want to trust the leadership as ones that they don't have to monitor all the time, to be able to trust them to do what they need to do. And I think that also accounted for a lot of the shifts from people that ordinarily used to vote for other parties that came over to the Freedom Front Plus, and we welcomed it. As I say, we are very stable, and I think we are probably the party that shows the most accountability to the voters as well.
What's your hope what's the number that you're hoping you'll get in Gauteng?
I don't want to speculate at this stage. Let's just keep an eye on the figures as they come in.
Thank you so much. That was VF Plus's Amanda Delanga speaking to us here at the Gauteng Result Center in Alberton, where we've been monitoring that leaderboard here, getting a sense of the provincial political picture as it comes through. We're just past 50% of the vote here. The ANC still holding on to their first spot, but it looks like the DA is close behind, just few percentage points behind them than the EFF, but also a lot of new parties. Hoping to speak with one of the other newcomers that have done quite well within the province. The MK party being on 4th place at the moment. We're hoping to speak to them when they do arrive here later on in the day. But for now, back to you in studio, Ayanda.
All right. Hasina, Gori, thanks very much indeed. Hasina Gori is live to us there from Alberton in Gauteng as we continue watching the situation there. Important province that, 80 provincial seats. It's home to 23% of people who are registered to vote. That's the highest proportion than anywhere else in the country. Whatever happens in Gauteng is certainly going to continue making news, and that's why we're watching that province very closely. In a moment, our special rolling coverage continues from here at the Results Operations Center and our headquarters in Auckland Park. Here is a picture of the floor as it stands, perhaps relatively calm now, but we all know the storm is on the horizon and the SABC has a front row seat.